Hi there, and welcome to Connected Conversations with Luxury Portfolio International. This is a series of one-on-one interviews, panel discussions, and conversations with thought leaders and industry experts designed to help luxury portfolio members get inspiration, ideas, and a deeper understanding of how your global peers are facing these historic times. Today's April 14th, and we'll be discussing managing a high-end business during shelter in place, which is really a unique thing, with three panelists: Paul Grover, who's the broker owner of Robert Paul Properties on the Cape and in Boston; Jennifer Shemwell, who's the broker owner of Phyllis Browning in San Antonio, Texas; and David Kramer, who's the president of the David Kramer Group at Hilton and Hyland in Beverly Hills. And I'm Stephanie Anton, the president of Luxury Portfolio, and pleased to have you all here with us. And don't mind if you see my dog walking around in the background. That's the fun thing about Zoom today, right?
Love it.
It's all about authenticity.
Yes.
So thank you all for your time. I'm going to go ahead and start with you, Paul. If you could talk a little bit about what's happening on the Cape and in Boston. I think you're in both markets, and so it's sort of a unique opportunity for us to hear what's happening in both places. And I believe that you are an essential business, correct?
That's correct. In Massachusetts, real estate brokers are considered essential. And right, I work in two markets, Cape Cod and Boston. It tends to be the same people, the same buyers and sellers, but Boston, their primary home, and Cape Cod, their vacation home. And they are two very different markets right now. So in Boston, for example, in high-rise full-service buildings, for the most part, showings are not allowed. And even in brownstones in the city or in Back Bay or South End, if they're occupied by the owners, most owners really do not want showings happening right now. But on Cape Cod, most of our high-end luxury homes, they're not occupied year-round. So most of those tend to be vacant right now. So it's easy for us to get in. And we're having a lot of interest. It kind of caught us by surprise. But there are people from Boston or from New York, Connecticut, New Jersey, but particularly people from the city who are thinking now all of a sudden about getting something with some space, some land, some privacy, security, looking at the properties out on the Cape just a little bit differently than they did before. So we've actually seen an uptick in our business on Cape Cod right now, which caught us by surprise. And of course, in Boston, it's quieter, as you may expect.
Yeah, it's the unintended consequences, right? Where we certainly heard a lot about that and happening in New York with the Hamptons and people kind of moving out of the city and out into the to less populated areas, maybe where they can have more space. So it sounds like you guys are seeing that too. No surprise. Jennifer, what about you in San Antonio? Obviously, you're close to the Hill Country, and what are you seeing? And have you had to change a lot in your business as a result of having to react to COVID-19?
Mostly it's been a re-education in our business and just, helping people find the new normal. We've been very fortunate that we are essential. We work not just in San Antonio, but in some small towns around San Antonio. So Bernie, New Braunfels. I think the real estate market has been particularly strong in Bernie. Bernie's been a growing market anyway, but it's just a jumping off place to the Texas Hill Country. And so a lot of the luxury market there are ranches and high-end estates. And so we just continue to see properties go under contract and new listings come along, which we're very, very thankful for.
Yeah, I think that we're hearing that from a lot of brokers. I mean, the business is still happening, and it's not happening at the pace that we would certainly normally see in the spring. But things are happening in unexpected ways, it sounds like, and you're seeing a little bit of that too. Sounds like. David, let me come to you now. And so tell us what's happening in Beverly Hills, and are you seeing, or I should say, in the area, are you seeing activity? And if so, who's really out there looking?
So it was interesting because when this started maybe a little over a month ago, we actually saw a lot of activity. I think people were wanting to sell at maybe a little bit more of an attractive price. And then we had buyers jumping into the market. It was very busy. And then when people realized it was a little bit slower or that this was going to have a longer lasting duration, we saw pretty much a big slowdown. You had some people back out of escrows, and it got fairly quiet, although still some activity happening. And then we're starting to see a little bit of a pickup now. I think, the shock is over and people are saying, okay, now I need a place to live. We have people writing offers at 50% of ask just randomly, which I think you would have at any market.
Right.
But there's some deals that are happening. It's kind of interesting.
People that it sounds like maybe trying to take advantage of an opportunity, and if someone takes it, great, right?
They're not taking it. A lot of people are pulling their homes off the market. And actually in 2007 and 8, I've been doing this for a while, so I've seen a few of these downturns. What happened in our market then, which is a lot of sellers pulled their homes off the market, is happening now. So you're actually seeing a reduction in inventory, probably about 20% less.
Yeah, got it.
Keeping things okay.
Yet amidst all this, you just had a really big transaction just 3 weeks ago, I believe, and it was, I think we can talk about it, the Lee Iaccoca State. Yeah. Can you maybe share a little bit about that? Congratulations. That's a big deal.
Thank you.
Right now. How did you get it, and how did you keep it together, more importantly, right?
So I got it because, and this is kind of, I mean, we can transition into kind of the new normal. And what's interesting is I think what's becoming more relevant is brokers right now, because homes are being pulled off the market, and I call it hand-to-hand combat. I don't know what you want to call it, but basically, like every day I start calling people, and this was someone on my team, and we have I decided I'm not going to stop our weekly meetings. I'm not going to stop our calls. And so on one of our calls, somebody said, I've got someone looking and they need a house. They're in a rental. They're building a big house and they need something in the interim, which I know that's a big interim house, but that's what they wanted. And he said, they're in this price range. I said, show the house. It's quite a bit less, but show the house. And if they love it, we'll worry about it then. Well, they absolutely fell in love with the house. And then he said, well, they don't want to write that low of an offer. And I said, write the offer. And the seller had been very, very stuck on their price. And basically I wrote a long letter and I said, this is not going to go away. This is going to be something for the long term. And what you see as a low price today, you might very well look back in 6 months and say, that was actually a really good, fair price. And I think they agreed with me, and we really negotiated in earnest and made that deal.
Got it. And what was the actual deal? I don't know if you said the number.
19.5, asking was 26.
Yeah. So significantly under, but how long it had been on the market?
Probably about 60 days.
Yeah.
Not very long.
Not long.
No,
so no. It made them motivated in that situation, it sounds like.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about high-end property is there isn't a price, there's a range. Having to do with the motivation of the seller and the motivation of the buyer, essentially. And we had a more motivated seller, but we also had a more motivated buyer. And in my letter, I also said that if nobody needs to buy a house now, and this was in the worst part of the quiet in our city, I said, if somebody doesn't need to buy a house now, they're not going to, and you're not going to show this house for probably months. And you have a great buyer because they need a place to live. And I said, you need to cherish this buyer and try to make this deal in good faith.
I love that story because it's a great example of creating urgency. And because the moment did create urgency for them. And it, I think, made your deal come together. So congratulations. That's great.
Thank you.
We like hearing success stories right now too. So, so Paul, let me come back to you because I'd love to hear a little bit more about, how transactions are actually being done. Sort of what are your, and I know you you represent represent sellers and buyers, and you're actively listing and selling. So, what are you doing? How is it working with inspections and with photographers and the details of the transaction?
Yeah, and that's changed a little bit. So not all of our photographers are working. So some have chosen not to, which we understand and support. But others are out there. But what they're doing is they're requesting to be in the homes by themselves. So again, I go back to the fact that that our houses that are not occupied right now, that makes things easier. So so we'll go to the properties ahead of time and get things opened up and have it ready for them. And they'll spend as much time as they need there and then let us know and we get it closed up. So so that part's working. In terms of home inspectors, sort of a similar thing. Some home inspectors are not coming out, but others are still available and would prefer to be there without anybody else. Appraisals, some banks are allowing drive-by appraisals, which is really sort of old school for us, but that's happening as well. So some adjustments that way. So business is occurring. And when I talk to people about the changes here, I think all of us in our industry, we've been working remotely forever. So this is nothing new. And like Dave says, the hand-to-hand combat, I mean, it is that way, but it's, where people will ask me over the years, what office do you work in? And, I'll just kind of hold up my cell phone. Here's my office, or my car's my office. So it's not a change for us so much that way in our industry.
Yep. Yeah. It's funny you say that because, David, when we were talking, you said something similar about photography and about like virtual tours and the fact that, this isn't actually that big of a change in the way you're doing business and marketing properties, right?
No, it is. We pretty much mostly have a full service home office. We deal remotely, as Paul said. Most of our work is on the phone. Probably 90% of our business is on the phone or in the car. But, it's not a big change.
Yep. Jennifer, I think for you, probably it's a bigger change because while these guys are both really spending most of their time selling property, you're spending most of your time running a company, right? So, what's the hardest part of running a high-end real estate company right now?
Well, and actually I do both. I do sell a few properties and I'm running the company too. And so the hardest thing for me has been doing both right now because I feel that I have to set the example for our agents, and that with so much news coming out and so many people glued to their TVs, I found for the first few weeks of this, people did not know what to believe. And so people were very, very nervous. And so just especially in our leadership of our organization, there was a time when it wasn't clear that we were essential. Title companies were essential, but it wasn't clear real estate was essential. So I had to get in touch with my team. We started having a call at 2:00 every day. And that was just the best decision, having a Zoom call with everybody every day. And we've kept it up. And it really has been a good thing to be able to address issues as they come in.
Yeah, I believe that. I think we all want to be connectors, and that's why we're in real estate, right? And so having the opportunity to use technology to continue to connect to people, I think it's really helping a lot of people through this. Jennifer, you talked to me about, making what makes a great company, and that's a question I think you asked yourself. And so are you finding that this is actually helping you towards that goal?
Yes, what this has done for me is it's helped me to communicate my vision more often, as they tell us that we're supposed to do. It's helped me stay in better touch with my people. It's helped me do things outside my comfort zone, like learn new technology like Zoom, make more videos, communicate with people more often through video conferencing. So I've learned how to do things differently and sooner and faster than I might have done them otherwise.
Sure. Yeah. So David, back to the virtual transactions conversation for a second. So, I know your business was, you kind of described it as being primed for that, and you were already doing a lot of that already, but, were there things that you did with your business that sort of positioned you to be ahead of this right now, specific things?
Yeah, I think it was somewhat of a mindset just of thinking about the business. Every December, I always used to have this panic, like I'll never make another dollar again. So every December when things would slow down, I would say it's no sacred cows month. And I would talk to people and say, and myself sometimes, and I'd say like, what do I need to think to be at the cutting edge of this business? And probably about 10 years ago, I kind of came to the conclusion that we really are, transitioning and have transitioned now fully into basically an online marketing firm. Because most of our business in the high end especially is online in the sense of people preview properties now online. So with that, I thought, how can I best present our properties to the outside world to get them to the house? And Jeff Hyland was actually instrumental. He said, putting too many photos is not in your best interest. He said, only put good photos that really tell a story. And that's what I do with photos and videos and everything else. That's why I was not an early adopter of the 3D walkthroughs, because they still have trouble balancing color and light and things. So, if it's not presenting your property well, this, again, my opinion is just don't do it. But that being said, content is everything. So we have photos, videos, and then selectively floor plans, site plans. We've even done a survey as part of our marketing.
Interesting. Yeah.
Which help sell two properties. So just if you kind of rethink the business as an online marketing business, then it kind of naturally flows. How do you present the property to the outside world?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. It's funny because actually all three of you, I would say, you represent three organizations that do exceptional luxury marketing. So you get it. And, Paul, I think you guys were early on doing tons of professional photography and a beautiful website. And it's always been a real focus for you. But has that helped you at this moment in time?
Oh, I think so. I mean, if you remember, Stephanie, when we started this company, which was a little over 10 years ago, and this was our second company, and we really specifically said we will have less bricks and mortar and invest more in technology. So from the beginning, we just had a sense that that's where it was going. So I would agree with what David said. Yeah, we're essentially online marketing company.
Yeah.
And we know that's where our clients are. And I think in the luxury space, our clients could be in San Antonio, they could be in Austin, they could be in Beverly Hills. I mean, think about the referral business, leading RE and luxury portfolio, all of that referral business. It says that these people are all transient. So if we have beautiful images, if somebody's sitting, at their kitchen table in Palm Beach or something and looking at our images, that's important, and that has helped build the business. And I think, who knew, but it positioned us well for where we are today.
Right. And Jennifer, I would say the same to you too. I mean, Jennifer is in San Antonio. I'm up the street in Austin. We're 90 minutes north of you. And I get targeted by your Facebook ads all the time. I mean, you guys are doing very aggressive virtual and social media marketing and beautiful photography. And so would you say that that's always also been something that sort of helped you in this moment?
Yes. The digital marketing, we have loved kind of challenging ourselves and pushing ourselves to the edge. Our agents right now are doing virtual houses, and we're using Facebook Live for some open houses. Mm-hmm. We're experimenting back and forth with Zoom and Facebook Live, and I think our agents really enjoy creating Facebook events and doing virtual open houses. So that's been a lot of fun.
Yep.
And it's really, we have an open position in our marketing department right now, and it's really made me think about the future and what kind of person I'm going to hire. And I really think that the future really is with digital marketing, and it really is with analytics, even more than writing and telling a story. And I've always believed in telling stories and having people that are good writers. But I think that this has changed people's lives forever. I think that people have realized how much they can get done from their homes. And I think that people have gotten in the habit of doing a lot more on social media. And I think it'll stay that way.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Paul, let me come back to you, because I was going to touch on this before, and you sort of touched on it, but because you're in Boston, and then you started in the Cape, and then you went into the city. But I think you have some unique insights as to what the future is going to look like for sort of migration patterns. And, do you think that people are going to continue to go from the suburbs to the cities, or what's going to happen?
Well, I think, yes, I think we'll continue to see movement to the cities, but I also think it could be smaller cities. And that was something that we were starting to see in Massachusetts, just because of so many people being outpriced. Mm-hmm. Just couldn't afford to be in Boston. And so there were alternative choices, smaller cities with good transportation. I think the desire to be in walkable neighborhoods or walk to amenities, I think we'll continue to see that. But I do think that people are reassessing that automatic empty nester, leave the suburbs and move into the city, into a shiny new tower. They may buy something in the city, but keep the place in the suburbs. So I think people are looking at it differently, and it's about security and space. And, you know, right now there's that uncertainty. And so there's, I think there's some comfort in just, for example, in a single family home where people have control over it and have some space around them.
Yep, got it. David, so I'll ask you the same question. So what do you think we're going to do differently as a result of this time? And, you know, what opportunities do you see moving forward?
Well, I am, first of all, re-examining everything I thought about digital marketing. You know, like I said, I wasn't an early adopter of some of the walkthrough tours, but they've come a long way, and we've been doing a lot of research, and they really are now some, you know, phenomenal assets there. I think that you're just going to see people explore online more. I also think you're going to see agents learn to work differently with each other. It's funny because in our business, in our market, I mean, it's become a little more insular. There isn't the sharing philosophy. I think we've all been in business a little while. And, you know, I hate to say in the olden days, but, you know, brokers helped each other out and talked to each other a lot more. We went on pricing committees. You would share information, and it's just become a lot harder where people are saying, I want a referral fee, or, you know, everyone seems to be competing against everybody else. And I'm seeing, you know, because I'm starting to call brokers just randomly, and, you know, people are so much more helpful, so much more open to giving information, sharing information. And I think we saw people go away from brokers. And I think now information and helping each other out is probably going to be much more the norm. I don't know if you're seeing or experiencing the same thing.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys. I don't know, Jennifer or Paul, you want to comment on that? Are you seeing people cooperating more right now?
Yeah, I think there's a sense that we're all in this together. So from that standpoint, and yeah, I mean, based on the conversations that I've had with other agents, brokers, and, you know, who are at competing firms. Yeah, there's like a little bit of a solidarity.
Yeah.
And I think for all of us who've been in this business for a long time, we know that, I mean, the broker relationships, they are so important. And again, look at what we've all developed over the years from needing RE. So yeah, that's why I think in our business, we're never really going away. No matter what technology comes along, it's still going to be that person to person.
Right.
I'm on an email group with about 15 to 20 other brokers. And so when this first happened, everybody was really quick to get online and say, well, what are you doing? And what are you doing? And how are you handling this? And it was just great to be able to collaborate about policies and how we show houses and what's considered safe and what's considered unsafe. And that was very helpful to me.
Yeah, I would say that. I think that I've had more than one person say to me, I've never worked so hard to make so little money. But I think everyone kind of, not that everyone's okay with that in the long run, but at the end of the day, like, this is a moment and everyone recognizes that. And I can tell you from where we sit, we're seeing people coming together and leaning on each other and looking to each other for answers and solutions. And so that's been exciting to see, I think. So my last question to each of you, and I'll throw this to all of you, and maybe David, I'll start with you and put you on the spot. But is there any one, if you had to say, like, to anyone who's watching, whether it's an agent or a broker, the one thing you would recommend that you have to do right now to sort of get you through this period?
Wow. Well, there's an old expression that's, it's not how many times you knock down, it's how many times you get up. And I really think that, I thought that through at the beginning of this. And it's so much human nature, because this is obviously a knockdown for all of us societally as well. And, you know, literally just not giving up, calling brokers like every day. And I do have a team of brokers, and I say every day, you know, you got to make 5 calls minimum to brokers. It should be more, but obviously just reaching out and keeping your hopes up and keeping your spirit alive that we're going to make it through it. And you just have to keep going and be consistent about what you do. I still, you know, I try to make sure that every day, and literally now it's 7 days a week, because you don't even know what day it is, you know, call people, keep in touch, and get out there to, you know, have the hope the funny thing, like between someone like a Steve Jobs, for example, who was always told that'll never happen, you can never do that, that will, never exist. I mean, I think if you have that attitude, it's not going to happen. It sounds simplified, but you have to remain positive. I was just watching the Anna Wintour masterclass, which I thought was kind of interesting. And she said something that I've heard over and over, and it's just not my strong suit, but she said consistency. Be consistent. So, rewrite your daily schedule, but then do it every day.
Great. Well, I put you on the spot, but those are good words of wisdom. Jennifer, how about you? Any last kind of one piece of advice you'd give?
Well, one of our sales managers came up with a really fun idea, and he calls it coffee talk. And it's kind of a, takeoff on some of the network shows. And he opens up a Zoom meeting at 10 o'clock every morning. And so all our agents all over the company and all the different offices can call in on the Zoom and talk about issues, or they can just say hi to people, see other faces on the Zoom, kind of get out of their head in their home office for a while and see some other friendly faces. But that's been a great community builder. It's been great for giving talking points. This morning we had 80 people in our company on that coffee talk, and a week ago we had 100. And what I think it's really important to do right now is to remember that real estate agents are ambassadors for the economy, and that if the real estate agents act scared or speak cautiously to their clients, then their clients won't buy real estate. And I truly believe that this is a temporary slowdown. I really believe that our economy is going to come back. I really believe our real estate market is strong. And so giving real talking points to our agents to tell their clients. And my other concern is, what's going to happen to our pipeline of new listings, if everybody is just on pause right now. So I'm encouraging, agents to go ahead and sign up listings and have them photographed and have them staged and do the decluttering right now, so that when we come out of this, we have a pipeline of business.
That's brilliant. And looking towards the future, I think makes lots of sense. Great. Thank you. Paul, how about you?
And I like Jennifer's advice in terms of having the people ready to come on the market. In fact, I'm saying to people, bring it on now. There's less competition, so bring it on. Calling people. I mean, I think I've done that for all these decades that I've been in this business. I mean, I love real estate. I love to talk about real estate. I really enjoy talking to people. So I'm working the phones just all the time. And you've heard me say before, we're very lucky in our business because people love luxury real estate. If we were calling people up trying to sell them life insurance or replacement windows or something like that, but people love to hear about real estate. And so, yeah, I'm going to say to people today, I was on a call and one of my colleagues just sold the Lee Iaccoca State. People like to hear that, like to know what's going on and talk about San Antonio and Austin. And I mean, I think in this country, Texas holds a really special place for so many people. I mean, there's no other place like Texas. And so to be able to talk about it and talk about, this phone call, it's good stuff. So, So it is some of the real basics, just staying in front of people. And also we know home is more important now than ever. I mean, everybody has to agree with that. We're all in our
stuck
homes.
in them. Yeah, absolutely.
And if you're fortunate enough to have luxury housing, I mean, it's really, it's good.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, great. I'm so glad I asked that question. I think, being informed and having a positive attitude and thinking towards the future and embracing what we all love. I mean, how can we go wrong if we do all those things? I think, we do a weekly webinar with our chief economist, Marcy Rosell. And for me, that's been like the touch point for my week because she just gives us a lot of information and just from an unbiased perspective. And we posted it online. It's available to the network afterwards. And I highly recommend listening to those every week too. It's only 30 minutes. If you don't like the economy, it's really not a lot. It's not hard, but it's helpful. And I think it helps you feel more in control. And at a time when we don't really feel a lot of control, that's super helpful too. So thank you all for your time. Great tips. David, did you have something you wanted to add?
I did, only because we had discussed it. So one thing that's interesting is, as a company, our web traffic is up, and obviously right now sellers are wondering like what's going on with their listings. So we actually ran the luxury portfolio statistics. We're up 27% in online traffic. So we PDF'd the statistics from luxury portfolio and sent it by email yesterday to our clients. We got some really nice responses back.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad I asked you. And take advantage of the tools at your disposal. There's no question. Awesome, guys. Thank you so much, all of you, for your time.
Thank you. Stay well, everybody.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.